if you're a woman and you have a low egg count at 20, it's not going to magically grow back.
Yeah.
You know, at least do something about it.
So you become just so desperate. So
I think it just consumes you.
Completely on every level.
Whether we foster or adopt or we have IVF or IUI or it's, I don't know.
Or we go on holiday and stop trying.
Fancy nowadays, I think we're so lucky that we have IVF as an option.
Check.
Yes.
The journey isn't important.
Hello and welcome to the She Word Mums, conversations mums rarely have, but really should. I am your host, Nerissa Massa. We are tackling another huge yet very delicate and sensitive topic in today's show. Wow, motherhood really is a rollercoaster ride, isn't it? As a woman, you first hear the word fertility at some point in secondary school during a biology lesson. It doesn't mean much and pretty much goes straight over your head. However, later down the line, you are made to fear sex because your fertility might mean bringing a baby into the world before the desired time. But what no one talks about is the nuances around fertility. How much of what we have heard from school, our parents and our friends is true? How many conversations have we had about primary infertility, secondary infertility, and fertility as women get older? Right now, fertility rates are at historic lows. Across Europe, women are having an average of just 1.34 children, the lowest level in decades. And in Malta, that number has dropped even further to just 1.01 child per woman, the lowest in the entire European Union. At the same time, the way we build families is changing. In the UK, around 1 in every 32 babies is now born through IVF, meaning there's likely a child conceived through fertility treatment in almost every classroom. And yet, for all the statistics, what often goes unspoken is the emotional reality. I am so privileged to be discussing this topic with three amazing ladies who are going to wear their heart on their sleeve in this show today as they share their experience with us. I'm going to start off with Dr.Christine Schembri Deguara. Dr. Christine, can I call you Christine?
Yes, of course.
Christine is a consultant, and I'm going to have to read this because it's just long, is a consultant obstetrician and gynecologist and a specialist in IVF and reproductive medicine and minimal access gynecology surgery. I mean, this is going straight over my head. She is the first Maltese doctor to have specialized in reproductive medicine and is trained in minimal access surgery and has completed a PhD in fertility from Queen Mary University. Honestly, it does not get better than this to have her on our show today. We are so lucky to have you here.
It also shows my age. So let's...
But I forgot to mention, she's also a mum of 3.
Yes.
Just to factor that in. Welcome to the show, Christine.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Our next guest is Christina Zammit Rosa. So we have a Christina and a Christina today. Christina is a director in her family business and also a mum of 2, I've written here, but feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, very beautiful and highly active children. And this is because I follow her on Instagram, so I get a sense.
Yes.
Welcome, Christina. Thank you for being here. And finally, our last guest is Angele Satariano. She's a founder and head fitness instructor at Active Spirit Gym. Angele is a mum of 1 and 1 on the way. And she is here to share her journey with us. Angele, thank you for being here. Have I missed anything out?
No.
Have I covered everything?
Yes,
Christine,
thank you.
Tell us a bit more about yourself.
Ooh, the legal part I can. No, yes, I mean, obviously from a medical perspective, you already summarized it. So I basically am, first of all, born and brought up in Malta. I did my training here. And then sort of when I graduated, I had the options of what next. And I've always been surgically inclined. And I always liked obs and gynae because my mother sort of gave me exposure to that area when I was little. So I think I always was veering towards fertility medicine. And I remember in the early days of my sort of training, I used to go into the sort of hospitals at the time. Fertility wasn't really well established. We're speaking, more than 30 years ago here. And it was like, it was all new, but it was also interesting because it was a field that I could see was moving rapidly, changing every few years. I mean, scientifically, it was a bit of like, it's a sci-fi area where you can't do something one year and you can do something next year. So it's incredibly, I would say, mentally stimulating, which is for me very important because I would get bored very easily. So I went to do my higher degree in the UK. I did my obs and gynae specialization there. And then in the interim, I knew I wanted to go for what we call a subspecialization in fertility, which is, it's a very competitive post, even in the UK. Usually there's pretty much 2 or 3 posts in London every 3 years available, so quite a bit. And for that, you need to sort of roll your sleeves up and work hard. So I did a PhD at Queen Mary, which was molecular biology linked to reproductive medicine. So it was quite a lot.
Whatever that means.
Yeah, basically it was being my little nerdy self, which is great. And I loved it. And during that time period, I was working already in a fertility unit as a sort of trainee for my PhD. I was recruiting patients and basically doing my studies in the area I wanted to anyway. So after 3 years of that, I went back, finished my general training, and then competed and got the subspecialization post. And basically that's where I started my official subspecialization and did, 3 to 4 years of BARTS and, UCH and fertility, and working with some amazing people that taught me what I knew.
Chris,
Tell me.
I'm going to start with you
Go
because
for it.
you all have very different stories which bring you to this table, which means it's very difficult for me to ask you a generic question and expect an answer because you're all here with your own story.
Fair.
So you're a mum of 2.
Yes.
What brings you to this table? What is your
Your
story?
invite. No, other than, we're a mom of 2 presently, but we have mothered 4 children.
Okay.
So we started out in fostering. We never wanted to be moms. Let's start with that first. As in, the first date I had with my now wife was her stipulating the rules over a glass of wine. Like no marriage, no kids, and she told me her age, which I'm not going to say now because she'll divorce me.
Yes. But clearly her first date
No, it was
rules went out the window at this point in your life.
Have you met me? Like, I always bring my own agenda to the table. No, joking aside. What happened was that friends of ours were fostering well into our relationship and we went over to help them. And it was a tricky case and we decided sort of that there really is the need for foster moms, foster parents, not foster moms necessarily. And we also didn't want to be, as crude as it's going to sound, we didn't want to be permanent parents. We wanted to enjoy our life, but also still help.
Yes.
Sort of, we wanted to be selfless and selfish at the same time. Have your cake and eat it too kind of thing. So we applied to become foster carers, which took us about a year, mostly dilly-dallying and then doing the courses and then dilly-dallying a bit more because we weren't sure what being a parent would entail. And we fostered our first daughter, our first child. And then another placement came to us. It was in COVID. At the same time, we were thinking about starting our own family because the first placement helped us really realize that we were okay moms. We kind of wanted to be moms. And we ironically didn't have enough information about IUI or IVF and couldn't afford IVF at the time. So we went down the IUI path, which wasn't offered in Malta at the time. So we went to Spain. But I don't know if it was the timing. I don't know if it was, as Dr. Christine later pointed out, the quality of sperm. I don't know if it was situational. It was just a mix of many variables that led to 2 failed pregnancy tests. At the time, the placement that was meant to last 8 weeks ended up lasting a year and then 2 years. So it was that kind of whirlwind. In the second year, we got a 3rd placement that turned out to be traumatic in all sense and purposes. So we stopped our own journey. And then in the 3rd year, we were in Slovenia and it was in February on her birthday. And she turned around and she's like, I think we should speak to Hope. I nearly fell into the lake at this point. And she's like,
Hope
but
being
the
the
clinic. Yes. She's like, but we need to be successful this year. This is February.
You've got 10 months.
No. And I was like, hon, I can't make the year longer. Like, you've literally given us 10 months to have a 9-month gestational period.
Yeah.
So obviously, like after I nearly fell into the lake, we went home and I opened my laptop and she's like, you're going to email them now? I'm like, yes.
Because you've only given
I'm going to
me...
email them now. It was 10 p.m. And I'm like, we need a consult. Thanks for coming back next week. 14th February, we're in the office. 13th March, we had the procedure. By 10th April, I was pregnant.
Oh my God.
It worked. And And then December, 23rd December was his due date. We waited by 7 days. I was just like, this is ace. But then he came early. So it was 29th November. He already showed us that he was going to be a firecracker. So that's my story. So we went through like the ups and downs of negative pregnancy tests, the ups and downs of tons of medication, the ups and downs of fostering, and then losing the foster placement, and then having a permanent foster placement that became an adoption, and then a child that we nearly lost on the 1st May. That's another email that had, you remember? I think we miscarried, Heather. It was a lot. So that's what I bring to the table, I think.
So we'll be delving into everything you just said, from like the practical, the emotional, the
I
financial.
don't even know if I said it in order. A lot had happened in the past 4 years,
Yeah.
5 years.
And I'm so glad you're here. But I'm going to move on to Angele and to share you. So what brings you to the table? So Dr. Christine comes with, the mum label, but also all of the training in this field. And what's your story?
Yes, so I guess what brings me here mostly is my fertility journey. We tried for 9 years to get pregnant before having my daughter, who's now 3.5. So yes, it was a very tough journey. It took me very long to decide that I wanted to do IVF.
Okay.
I was really unsure about it. It scared me on more than one level. And I know a lot of people they say, just do IVF. But there's so much more to it than the just do. There's a lot of sacrifices, and like Christina said, the financial and the physical, the emotional. So anyway, we did IVF a bit further on in the journey, and even that wasn't straightforward. You think you're going for IVF and it's going to work first time around, and then when it doesn't, it's a shock, Mm-hmm. So a few tries of that, eventually she came. Our miracle, but...
But it's interesting because I specifically wanted to name the show Fertility, not Infertility, because I feel like infertility just focuses on one side, but fertility is basically everything. And in my intro, I made reference to like when we're in secondary school, you kind of assume that like you have sex, you get pregnant, like... on the one go. And then you grow older, and then you find a partner before you kind of get married or settle down with him or her or whatever. You kind of just think, we have to be really careful. We have to track, use protection, whatever, because it can happen. And then when you want it to happen, it's then you kind of meet this. And I actually this is like one example of what people are using these days, like to help with getting pregnant. And I'll get to your point, Angele, later. So this is Femme Sense, which is basically a patch that you wear, which tracks your temperature every day. So you wear it under your arm. You can track it with an app, and it's just one of the tools people are using, which I would say this is probably like first line, right? So you try for a couple of months, it doesn't happen. This is an easy fix. You put it under your arm, you track it with an app, you check your temperature, have your ovulation, use your ovulation sticks. I mean, everyone really...
Yes, you don't go to infertility straight away.
Exactly.
You go to, my ovulation is out of whack, so I need to track it before...
At this point you're making, Nerissa, was one of the things that I had really felt along this journey. I felt like I was lied to a bit growing up. Like you're saying, you think...
Yes, it's going to be like...
and... like people make a big deal about it as well. Like it's the worst thing that can ever happen to you if you get pregnant when you're not really expecting it.
Yes.
But nobody speaks about the flip side.
What happens when you really want to get pregnant?
When you really want it and it doesn't happen.
Listen, we're not saying let's tell teenagers in school, go be free, try and have sex and see if it happens. Because we also know, and Christine, correct me if I'm wrong, that fertility in your teens is different than fertility in your 30s. And
yes,
we are seeing a difference in the age that women want to become mums.
I mean, biologically, the best time to get pregnant is before the age of 35. Ideally in your 20s, because actually the biggest problems and the biggest miscarriage rates tend to be in the very young and the very old.
Oh, and the very young as well.
So we don't know that.
Like how over 35 is very old.
Yeah, well, I'm a classic
it was slipped in there. Like you're a geriatric mom, now you're black times.
No. But what I mean to say is actually, first of all, in reality, does anyone know how easy it is to get pregnant? Do you guys know how easy it is to get pregnant in your late
Like sperm
20s,
meets
30s.
follicle,
Yes, like
embryo.
The 5 days when you're ovulating, I would say.
no, what I mean to say is like how per month, right? What is your statistical chance of getting pregnant in your early 30s without any problem?
I don't know. No idea.
Come on, give it a shot.
20% chance.
Oh no, I would go higher.
Higher.
Oh yeah, I would
I
go
would
if
say
you're.
it's lower. I don't know.
I would go like if you have sex.
Oh my
on
God,
the-
I just
if you have sex on if you're tracking your ovulation.
No, but you're bringing in a variable that hasn't been mentioned. How easy is it to get pregnant in your 20s?
Yeah.
Okay,
If
so
boy meets girl
20s,
and has
early
sex.
30s. Yeah.
Oh, okay, then
And successfully, not with the belly
then
button,
by
but like
process
proper.
of elimination, I would go 25%.
Yeah, so it's around 1 in 4 chance. So basically, it's not that easy. Yeah, true. But it's not that easy to get pregnant. Now, obviously, I'm very cautious about saying that because you can have sex the first time and get pregnant. So please do not use this as a reason for, yes, let's have unprotected sex, because that's
Yes.
not what I'm saying here. But human fertility is such that actually most people under the age of 35, I would say 80% of the people trying will conceive within 1 year, which is 12 cycles. So 12 times trying to get pregnant. And the 20% that don't get pregnant in the first year, around 80-90% of that subpopulation will get pregnant within the second year. And that is why, if you look at the guidance under the age of 35, it is completely normal to try for 2 years
Wow.
to try and get pregnant. But, if you know there's a reason that you can't get pregnant, if there's a pathology that you can't get pregnant, you should, even in today's guidelines, get checked definitely after trying for a year, because you can't just assume, well, it will happen. So yes, if everything is fine and everything is good and you're under 35 and you have a good egg count and normal sperm count, in reality, it can take you up to 2 years to conceive.
But
Still.
wait, you just said if you have a normal egg count and a good sperm count.
But
So
that
you
is
would
what
have
you
checked.
don't know. Now, you can check at point go. You can check, like, even before starting to think of having children, which is another way of doing it. But if you're one of those people that doesn't want to check, but you've been having regular unprotected sex for pretty much close to a year and you're not managing to get pregnant, you should definitely check yourself. Some people can check themselves anyway, even before they want to have
Yeah,
children.
yeah.
You know, some people check themselves even before they get married. It just depends on the person. But there is a point in time where you should say, listen, we're going to try for so long, but after that, we should get checked.
With my first pregnancy, it didn't take me very long, a couple of months. But even then, because of what we were taught in school, if I tracked my ovulation, I expected to get pregnant.
Yeah.
Like,
We had
maybe I
sex
was
last
being
night.
too simplistic and too basic about it, but that was kind of what we saw in films, what we kind of were taught. For you, Angele, when did you start thinking, oh, is this going to happen? When did the concern start kind of creeping in? Because also a year of trying and every month taking a negative
There's
test
a long
is still
time.
tall.
It's a long time.
I got married at 24, so I was quite young. So we started trying when I was 25, and we spent the first year. At that point, I wasn't that bothered in the
Yeah.
sense I was young, I was racing and running, so I was like very busy otherwise. But then when it doesn't happen after a year, you do start to question, like, you know, what's going on. And that's when we started then doing tests after a year. I had done some ovulation tests in the meantime. But yes, after 1 year, we said, okay, so let's go to the gynae and we see what we need to do to start investigating, basically.
And that's another thing. People nowadays rely heavily on technology. So I've got lots of women that come and say, oh, because I have this period app and this period app tells me I'm ovulating at this day. So we've been trying on this day. But apps are statistical calculations. And, you know, you do have to sort of be aware that, listen, yes, you have an app that guides you, but actually it may not be telling you when you're ovulating. So add on the ovulation sticks. I mean, the amount of time I've seen women who are like, we've been trying for a year. Oh, great. So do you ovulate? I don't know. And you're like, I realize that it's tough and it becomes clinical almost to just check your ovulation every time and, you know, time when you have sex. But some people don't realize even the basics that it involves to say, listen, you know, yes, egg makes sperm, but, you know, if I've had a chlamydia infection in the past, I need to check my tubes because that is not a low risk factor for blocked tubes. You know what I mean? So every case has to be different, but people to a certain extent, as you're saying, infertility is almost like any grief cycle, right? There's always, we ignore it first, and then there's denial, and then there's confusion, and then there's anger, and eventually there's acceptance. The problem is that the duration of that cycle can be a few months for some people and can be a few years for some people. But in infertility, months and years make a big difference, especially if you have problems like low egg counts or low sperm counts or progressive disease. So it is a cycle where denial inevitably, like any bad news, is going to take the first hold, and it always does. But it is knowing what's beyond that denial that sort of we try to show people or talk to people about.
I don't know, it's different for homosexual couples, as in we didn't have a choice but to go to IVF. So there wasn't that stage.
But there is the stage of
Thinking about it.
No, and also having cycles and not managing to get pregnant.
Fair. But again, fortunately / unfortunately, we were very lucky in that respect. It was for us, literally the expression li kexxum daħal doesn't even begin to explain it. You know, in February she told me we have to get pregnant this year. Can you even fathom that timeline? I mean, I look at him, and even still to this day, we lie down in bed and we'll be like, do we actually have a baby boy next door? That is ours. That came to us, and it was a stroke of luck. Of course, it's science, and it's because my mother was like, "Oh, Ima, you're in a lab. It's biologically tested. Everything is so sterile and perfect." Ah, sure. Like it's not, you don't have 100% satisfaction rate, you know. And Angele is here as testament to that.
Yes.
There's a lot of heartache.
Like for me, that thought of like
yours spread
in
over
1
how
year,
many?
Like it's crazy.
Yes, and then I look at her and I tell her like this was truly like, again, I'm not Catholic or anything like that, but I do have faith in something. It was truly meant to be. Like literally, we had 10 months to get a 9-month, to pop out a baby in 9 months, and it worked. We managed.
Many single-sex couples make the error of believing that because the only issue is that they don't have sperm around,
Which
it's going to
be successful,
Where at the end of the day, female pathology, irrespective of your sexuality, is always going to be there. So to a certain extent, you're luckier and more likely to get pregnant if it's just a matter of no sperm.
Exactly, and our pathology is also more confusing, like you said.
You know
what
I mean? But at the end of the day, irrespective of sexual orientation, pathology is pathology. So you have single-sex women that don't manage to get pregnant or have problems with their egg count.
I did mention it in terms of pathology. It was more that with heterosexual couples, when you mention the denial, it's more that maybe, we're just not timing it right, and they don't immediately go to, there is a problem, let's sort it out. That's why maybe more time is lost.
True, but believe it or not, you have many couples who are told there's a problem and they still will deny it. And that is where we've had couples who we've seen, years in advance, who we say, listen, there's a problem. I'm the type of person, and probably by now, like, if it's black, it's black. If it's white, it's white. If there's a problem, I'll tell you. If there isn't a problem, I'll tell you too. But if there's a problem, I'm telling you. And people just think maybe to a certain extent, maybe there's a level of distrust in the profession as well. Like, yeah, she's saying that because maybe she wants us to do a cycle. But the truth is, if you have a problem 3 years before and then you come for treatment 3 years down the line, what I could have helped in 3 years earlier may not be the same situation that I'm finding now.
And that's what I want to pick on, because you mentioned female pathology.
And male pathology.
Yes, but you see women in clinic every day. What is the most common reason for infertility these days? Is it that women are starting later? Is it because,
I think the biggest defining factor is always the quality of the eggs. And I say that because we have had some extensively complex cases with male sperm who have managed to have successful pregnancies purely because the egg is young and good and healthy. Now, the problem with eggs, and this is what I always try to drum into women, eggs are as old as we are. We are born with all the eggs we ever have. So essentially, the same batch of eggs has been there since birth, and working with the same batch of eggs 1 or 2 or 3 years in advance makes a massive difference when it comes to genetics, because eggs grow old like we do. Yeah. There's no science behind it. It's biology. You grow older, the genetics become more abnormal. The eggs will degenerate more easy. The embryos will become more abnormal. So in reality, I would say the biggest problem, or at least one of the bigger issues that we have, is that most women, usually for social reasons. We'll leave it later to get married, to settle down, to start having kids. But that brings it with it biological problems. And that's something we see throughout Europe in reality. It's not just Malta. It's, male, even male sperm, the parameters have even changed over the last years as to what qualifies as normal. So for us, like normal sperm, 20 years ago was actually much better quality sperm than what we regard as normal sperm today.
Really?
Yes, mainly because of the limitations that they had and we don't. So the parameters by the World Health Organization of what normal sperm is has actually changed.
Like, is it our diet, the lifestyle we live? Can that impact?
Sometimes yes,
anything?
sometimes no. So inevitably, if we are not exercising, we're not eating clean, we're eating lots of processed foods, we have higher body mass indexes, we smoke, we drink, inevitably, those will affect biology. We don't understand how exactly, but in general, the body does get affected by these things. So whenever someone comes, the first things we do is look at their lifestyle, see if you can change it, give them supplements, give them vitamins, check their levels. So we always do that because we know that the basis has to start somewhere. But then you have other things. And yes, okay, I mean, you have people that are healthy, are exercising, or eating right, or doing exactly what they should be. But then there's a problem with their genetics, and that's different. And it's the same for men. So again, I mean, lots of people smoke weed nowadays, and it's legal in this country, and they do it. But inevitably, if you smoke weed, it's going to affect your sperm parameters. Whether you like to agree with it or no, it does. So again, it's because we can do something, it doesn't mean we should be doing something. And this is purely from a biological perspective.
Yeah.
And we see it from a laboratory perspective. It does change.
But then you don't see it like from both sides, in the sense you can have a couple who drinks, smokes.
Yes,
they
always.
get pregnant straight away.
Yes.
And then you'll have the other couple
And there's always
who's
the
healthy
extremes.
and-
Yes, by
and
all
then
means.
they
By all
struggle
means.
like it's
Can I
just
touch on
so-
this? Because
yes.
I know you lead a very healthy lifestyle and you're not getting pregnant. But in the meantime, probably some of your friends are, or social media. How
Some is a very
Worst case
small-
scenario when your friends start
And I
getting
think
pregnant.
I want to touch upon this. When you're going through that journey, when you decide to go just try for a family, how hard is it navigating, like your friends posting pregnancy announcements while you are going through that? Did you internalize it? Did you share that with your family and friends, what you were going through?
It's a process, I would say. The beginning, I used to keep it more to myself. Even like that first year of trying, I wouldn't really say much, just because you don't want sort of other people's opinions or interferences.
The expectation.
And the expectation.
Did you manage?
And
Was
the
it successful?
expectation. But then as time passes, you start to realize, and obviously as you start getting, more upset about it not happening, I don't know, for me, I couldn't keep it to myself. So, then I tell my
It's too
mom,
intense.
it's very intense.
Everything is
yes.
timed.
It's very intense.
You have to have 600 alarms.
We'll talk. Can you pause? Because I really want to know.
But you can't not tell. And
I
you
know.
cannot
For
not-
me, anyway, I needed to. So I need, for me, my mother was always my main person,
You're
so
faithful.
I tell her, and, we can talk about it. I did tell my friends as well. Yes, my friends all knew. So
And did that make it easier?
it's all, I know, for me, it does make it easier, because to go through that struggle on your own and put up this facade that everything is okay is very hard.
On top of what you're going through.
Exactly. So for me, being honest and my friends kind of knowing where I'm at would help the situation.
How did they change how they spoke about?
Look, for people not going through it, it's very difficult. People don't really know what to say and what to do. But again, they learn along the way. So for example, my mother, she learned along the way what would trigger me, what not to say, what to say. But in the beginning, she didn't. So it's it was a learning curve for her as much as for me. And I guess with friends as well. It's tricky. It's very tricky.
to
Unless you're in
navigate.
it, it's very difficult to know what
And
is
some
going to trigger
months
someone.
something might work for you, because
Yes, and maybe not for somebody else. It's a very personal experience. So
had ignore me as a doctor, even as a prospective parent at the time. We've had friends of ours who had infertility who would stop coming out with us or with other pregnant couples just because they just couldn't face the fact that, not face the fact, it's uncomfortable. You know, you're on the table, everyone's like, I'm pregnant, I'm looking forward to this.
The
blah,
conversation
blah.
is all
exactly,
kids.
you
I
know.
mean, myself, I went through that part
Exactly,
as well, where
you
I
know,
had to stay back.
And you don't
Yeah.
blame the people who are going to have the child
Absolutely. You're
because
just in
it's something
different
nice.
phases.
It's a really tricky situation.
But you do have people that stop interacting. They just stop coming out.
I had a bit of social anxiety myself because wherever I go, I used to worry that someone's going to ask me something, you know,
Yes.
that's going to trigger me. Or, I mean, people having babies are everywhere, eh? So it's like, I used to get anxious and I was never like that. So that changed me in a sense.
How did you navigate like your friends' pregnancies? How was that for you?
It was very hard. Like first, all my husband's friends got pregnant and had their kids because he's 5 years older than me. And then all of my friends went through it. I mean, except for the few. And then my sister had 3 kids in the time that we tried to have one. How did I navigate? I don't even know, honestly.
It's so
As
hard.
in, you get through the days. I don't know, it's hard. You're happy for them, but you feel terrible for yourself. So there's the guilt as well.
Yeah.
So it's such a mix of emotions.
Take care and indulge in the liberation of smooth, hair-free skin. Browns, empowering wellness through its excellence in laser hair removal.
Periods are part of the game, but they don't have to throw you off your game. Try new Always Platinum for up to 100% leak protection, faster absorption, dry feel, and it's more cushiony, so you can focus on your game. It's a new period, always.
You started trying, and then today, everyone, we were talking about this earlier, people will just say, if you are open to someone, you say, oh, we've been trying, but it's not been working. People will just throw it on the table like it's just like, go have a beer. Try IVF.
Why don't you just do IVF? That was, yes.
It's just become a buzzword.
Yes,
Try
yes.
IVF. So-and-so got
That
pregnant
used to
with
really
IVF.
trigger
It
me
really
as a
worked.
comment, in fact.
How did you come to that decision? After how long? How long do you
Okay.
sit with it? Because also then I want to hear from you, Chris, because you did IUI before
Yes.
IVF. But again, how do you get to that decision?
So we did, I think, 3 cycles of Clomid. So the tablets you take to
Use ovulation.
stimulate ovulation, maybe you have 2 eggs instead of 1 in the cycle, which didn't work. And we did 1 IUI as well, which didn't work. And then, I don't know, I mean, so many years passed. You become a bit desperate, as in, I did become...
But were you aware that those treatments have no more success rate of like 10%, 17%?
I
Did they tell you
knew-
that?
They might have mentioned. I knew that the chances weren't very high. But as an alternative to such a medicated process that is IVF, I wanted to try.
It's part of the acceptance process as well. Like it's
Yes, like-
let's do something less invasive before going to the...
Because I was very afraid of the amount of medication needed to take IVF. I used to worry about the impact it would have on my health in the long run. So yes, it was one of the reasons that kept me that delayed my decision to do it. But then there comes a point where, I mean, how many more years? I had a bit of a depression at a point as well. So you become just so desperate. So
And I
just
think it
said,
just consumes you.
completely on every level.
Because it's all you think about. It's all
Completely. I used to
you...
wake up in the morning and say, what's wrong with me? Like for a second, I just need to remember, why do I feel like this? And then you remember, yes, of course, because... And you have to just get through your day. It's very hard.
How sad. I just have goosebumps. But when someone makes the decision to go through IVF, and I think this is what I really want to highlight as well in today's show, it's not sitting down and saying we're going to go for IVF. There's the financial consideration. There's the physical consideration on the woman mainly. But there's the emotional.
And the time.
And the time.
You don't
Talk me through a little bit.
come now for a blood test. Come tomorrow for a scan. Come now, we need to check this level. You're literally like, take it.
In fact, for someone with
open-
like a full-time job, I always said like, I don't know how
Check,
they do it.
because I was self-employed, like I had to tell my dad, who was also my colleague and my boss, essentially, like, Pa, I have to go. He's like, face era, now. You know, like I would get an email literally at 9:19, come at 10 a.m. for a blood test. It takes me 20 minutes to get to Burkakara. So I was like, ciao, going. And it's not their fault. It's not my fault. It's nobody's fault. It is what it is. We need these results now. And when you're in IUI and you need to do follicle tracking, and you'll be like,
Whoa.
sorry.
Can you explain?
Because time is the biggest
What
constraint.
is that? So can you explain? Who should answer? What is IUI? For me, not with the technical
IUI is,
jargon.
sorry, Chris, I'm gonna
Go ahead.
Because
Go
you
ahead,
said, you said I wouldn't have tried IUI. It has 10% chance, and I am going to agree with the statistics, but disagree with the logic. Because when you have sex, you know, you go to bed and you have raunchy, cinematic, hot, steamy sex. There's no
Sometimes.
clinical setting
when
at
you're
all.
trying for 9 years.
No, we're making this exciting, ladies. We're making this exciting, okay? So you go, you know, dick comes out, meets vag, gets pregnant, let's go. No clean, no nothing. This was legs open in a sterile situation, sperm being syringed directly, it's like to the doorstep of your egg. You know, it can't get lost. It doesn't even need sat nav, it needs no map. The sperm is there. It can throw itself.
And there was the
still-
trigger shot as well. The
Push it,
trigger shot
and
is
still
to
it
trigger the
doesn't work.
ovulation in an IUI.
And also all the meds before anyway to make sure that your body's ready. So
Exactly,
there's no
so-
raunchiness and still it doesn't work. You look at yourself and you'll be like, but how? Like what happened to the sperm? Did it change direction? Did it travel south suddenly? Did it go for a picnic? Did it wait 3 days? Because also sperm survives, correct me if I'm wrong, 3 days. So even if the egg was tired and had a nap, what the frick happened? And we did it twice. 8K. Disappeared. Because you have the flights, you have the lodging, you have the food, you need to feed yourself. You have the anxiety. So you're there like, oh my God, it's midnight. I'm in and when the aeroplane doesn't let you go and you have to take the medication at midnight, I was like, get it out, you know, pop yourself and everyone's looking at you like you're nuts. But you lose yourself. You'll be like, my alarm is going off. You think as you can't miss a minute. Then you go through that loop of, but my body doesn't know the time. Why is it time stipulated? And you'll be like, maybe I can wait 5 minutes, you know, till I get to a bathroom, but you panic. So time far supersedes money. You need to be mentally, physically, and emotionally available all the time. Like, I remember one time I needed to take the Playrist. I didn't have the right subcutaneous needle. I used a gauge 5 needle. That was painful. Like, literally, it was painful. I was crying, and Lil was like, babe, like, you have to wait. And I'm like, I can't wait. It's 6 p.m. I need to take it. And we didn't have any subcutaneous needles. You do it. You just do it. You know? So it's time.
Oh my God.
Time and availability. It's intense.
Our first IVF. We went to do the trigger shot. It was 9 p.m. in London, in a lockdown. And this syringe burst open and half of the liquid.
Oh my
of the
God, I would have died.
We're going to die.
We're
Going to die. Mad.
So what did you do then?
Picking it up off the table.
You panic. You're like,
The
oh my
second
God.
time I bought 2 trigger shots just in case. I wanted an extra
learn.
one.
And then money. Buying. When we got handed the A4 prescription sheet, there were no prices. I went to Fatima Pharmacy and nearly died. Like if I was at Lourdes, I would have died. When they told me the amount, I was like, but you're sure? And she's like, yes. I was like, there's my money. Take it. Take it all. It's
So
tough.
there's all of this to
So when
consider.
people say go to IVF, it's like, let me go and buy my kosh shalaham, you know? It's like, takes a lot.
The mental to remember everything that you need to take.
So what can I?
I think everyone's terrified at this point. Whoever's listening to you, no one is ever
No,
going to.
but
It's
this is
worth
mainly,
it.
No, but
If it
I think
works,
it's
why you go to IUI first?
This is
Yes,
it.
it
This
is,
is
exactly.
I think the aim of this show isn't to scare anyone. It's
To bring out the realities.
To bring out the reality. If you've gone through it like Angele and like Christina, and Angele has had years and years and years, it's to say there is light at the end of the tunnel. It's also to help family members who have maybe other family members going through it, not just be like, just do IVF, it'll be fine. Or, keep trying, it's
Maybe
fine.
they can understand
maybe you
a
can,
little better.
maybe you, once you relax, it will happen. Once you go on holiday, it will happen. Again, all with good intentions, always said with good intentions. But I see you rolling your eyes, because how many times have you heard, if once you stop trying,
How many,
it will happen?
how many holidays we went on in 9 years on our own?
And it's but also
Yes,
if
you hear it all.
if you need to go through it, then make sure you
is,
have the full reality, which is not often spoken about.
this is me being the boring medical person here. In my opinion, IUI is used and abused, and it wastes a lot of time for many people.
No, but it helps cushion.
No, but that's different. So if you're a single-sex couple, actually the first line, if there's no issues, would be IUI. I agree completely with you, because you've never had sex.
Yeah.
As in, sperm has never met.
Yeah.
You've never had sperm meet egg sort of
Intercourse.
sex. No, I mean, intercourse is a different
We've had
thing.
sex,
It's
we've
just
never had
sperm meet
egg,
egg
so-
sort of thing.
So full penetration of penis and vagina.
How is it? Oh, show me again.
Okay, sorry. Go on.
Oh, don't. So no, sperm meets egg
Yes.
has never happened.
Let's rephrase.
Okay, let's rephrase. And in reality, it makes complete sense if there is, because again, if it's a young woman with a normal egg count who's never had sex,
So 35 is young now.
yes.
Not
what
very
am I
old.
saying? No, for me, it's like young. For me, is not only age; it's also amount of eggs you have.
because
No,
before
but
it
what I
was
mean to
35.
say is, if you've never had sex, and even if you're 38, it makes complete sense to try a couple of IUIs, because at the end of the day, you're replicating what would happen in nature when it comes to sperm meets egg. So that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But what I don't like, and this is something I feel strongly about, is people being sent for IUI whilst they are waiting for IVF. And that is wrong, Chris, because I've had women with low egg counts,
Yes,
extremely low egg counts, okay? And they've been offered IUI for 2 or 3 years because it's better than doing nothing.
Oh,
no,
yes,
you don't offer a treatment which has a 10% success rate to someone that
who needs-
clearly needs IVF. You offer them psychological counseling, you give it to them, you tell them what they need. They may not decide to do it, that's absolutely fine. But you don't lie to them because
Give them false
IUI
hope.
may work.
Yes.
It's false
because
hope.
you can win the international lottery, right? But you are unlikely to.
Yeah.
But you know that. But if you're desperately trying to get pregnant and someone says, do IUI because it's better than doing nothing, it isn't better than doing nothing. If statistically you've been trying for 2 years, your chance of getting pregnant per month is no more than 10%.
Yes, but then everything needs to be factored in with its own variables. And this is why it's a tricky topic. So
Yes.
even when it comes to the medication,
Agreed.
Angele might have taken less than I did or more than I did. And someone else might take more or for less time. It's a case-by-case situation.
But what I don't like is in women that are ovulating with normal sperm, that are having sex at the correct time,
Yeah.
and they've been doing so for 2 years or 1 year, and it hasn't happened. And then you give them the false hope of, let's do 6 cycles of IUI.
It's intense.
And
'cause you
that's
still need to
another
take
6
the
months
medication
worth,
for
okay?
IUI.
So yes and no, you can do natural cycle IUI. It depends why you're doing IUI. You can do IUI because you need her to ovulate, and that makes sense because you're taking the tablets to make a woman ovulate to try and get pregnant. But actually in women ovulating, you can do a natural IUI, which means you allow the body to ovulate by itself, and all
And
you
then
do
you do
is
the
IUI at the correct
clinical-
time. So it's not necessarily always medicated. It depends, again, case by case basis.
Yeah.
But the point is, less invasive procedures are always more attractive because they're always less stressful on the body, less stressful on the mind, maybe, because I would say they're more stressful if they've got less success rates. But beyond the point, it's doing something. But I don't think someone should be doing something just to do something.
Yeah.
You should
I
be doing
agree,
something
yes.
because it's actually going to improve your chances. And if it is, by all means, like definitely IUI has a role. But unfortunately,
right
it's
place.
in the right place, and that's the issue.
Yeah.
There is a vulnerability in the couple
There
who
is.
is
It's
so
palpable.
desperate, you know.
It's not something, it's not abstract, it's palpable, it's there. You can actually feel it, touch it, and you live it, and then you negotiate it, and then you live it again when you're unsuccessful. When we thought we lost Noah, it was, for me, it was the most catastrophic thing that could have ever happened.
When you're going through that process, when you're looking back on it now, what did you not factor in which you wish you had? So were you emotionally supported? What did you need in that process which you didn't have? If you could go back, and then we'll get through the actual pregnancy and
In the process of doing IVF,
yeah. So now you're at the point of you're doing IVF, and I
Okay.
suppose when
I
you go
think-
into IVF, do you go in it with hope or fear?
I think for me, so when we had the initial consultation with our doctor at the IVF clinic, the doctor said we had the consultation in like October. He said by September you'll have a baby.
Oh my God!
That's a very brash claim.
Wait, September the year after.
I know.
yes.
Yes. Literally
That's-
like the September. So as soon as he said that, like in fact, from day one, I was a bit like, what on earth? How is he saying this?
How can you guarantee
But
someone?
even though you don't fully believe it,
You
when-
hold on to it, eh?
when your first cycle is cancelled because of COVID, you already go, there you go, September. It's going to be October.
Yes.
So I think for me, it was more, I needed to be prepared for this thing to fail.
You went in
when the
it.
first one failed, we didn't even have an embryo to transfer after our first IVF because my egg reserves show that I needed less medication, but my body actually needed more medication, if that makes sense. So like I didn't produce enough eggs with the stimulation they gave me. So we collected only 2 eggs, and then from those 2 eggs, none of them became blastocysts that they could transfer. When they called me, we're on the way to the clinic to do an embryo transfer when they called me to tell me. And I mean, for me, it was like literally like someone died. I was so broken. I mean, we were there for a whole month in the UK in a lockdown in COVID. So it was a huge, like Christina said, the time and money investment into this cycle was incredible. And it's the first time, so you don't know what to expect. And then I had a complication from the egg collection, so I was in a lot of pain. So it was just like everything on top of each other. But no one really, even though you know it might not work, you're never really prepared for it not to work. When you've done so much,
How can
You
you
almost
not?
expect to be
you've done
full
so
fighter.
much. That's
How does
it's
it
just
impact your
destroyed me.
relationship with your partner?
My husband and I have been through a lot together. My husband had a liver transplant. Now that was 2010, so 16 years ago, and we're already dating. So we went through quite a huge trauma before. Somehow, I don't know. We really get through it. We really bond, and we do fight sometimes over these things. I think it's normal. But I don't know, somehow once we've gotten through
'Cause this could break any couple.
Yes, it could, for sure. I mean, we had, there were times when, because I'm an athlete, so I like to train, I like to run. I never did it to an unhealthy level. I always had a regular period, very healthy, blah, blah. But there's always that, do you need to go for a run today?
Yes.
There'll be
Questioning almost
and this was in the
everything.
beginning, because eventually he realized that it cannot be that way, because for how long am I going to put my life on hold, But there will be that initial conversation. I remember after we transferred my daughter's embryo, I had a massage booked. I didn't even think anything of it. I mean, I was in the 10-day wait. I had a massage already. And he was like, why are you going for this massage now? I'm like, what do you think is going to happen? It's just a massage. But, there'll be a bit of that. But at least our arguments were always...
Superficial.
Yes, they weren't. And we support each other. It's a hard journey. I don't know.
It is a very
Somehow
hard journey.
we
We're a
get...
good team, oh.
we get through it, and we...
It's important.
I mean, again, every person is different. As in, on the other side of things, the longer fertility takes to happen, the more stressed people get.
Yes.
And then there is, I mean, everyone copes with it differently, but we've had couples split up during their IVF process. We've had, at the end of the day, if sex becomes clinical, if it becomes okay, I'm ovulating today, cancel that flight you had because, you have to have sex with me now because otherwise we're going to lose that window sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And then there's the other side of it. So you've got couples that cope well with it, but you never really cope well with it because, I mean, part of the reason fertility treatment, especially nowadays, involves psychological support for patients. Like even in the new guidance, it tells you have to recognize that there's a level of mental health strain that can lead to mental health illness. And you need to basically support those people because at the end of the day, it's easy to say, I'm not getting pregnant. Women, it's my fault. Yeah. Like women is always, I'm the problem. Ignore the fact that 30 to 50% are male problems. Like, some of the biggest convincing I've had to do in my practice is telling a man, you have no sperm or your sperm is very low. And it's always like, but no, because I was tense, because I missed the pot, because I think I was too stressed at work or I had a headache yesterday. So there's always that side of it. So inevitably when a couple come into us, it's always the woman's the problem. And
but
it's
I
always
feel like even from the medical field, there is that assumption.
Depends on who you see. But
for us, it's okay, like my husband did a sperm count 1 year in, but there was no further investigating until 6 years later when there was something that was found that was
contributing factor.
No.
Yes, that could have been a contributing factor.
Yeah.
So 6 years away, come on.
Yes.
Like, as in...
Yeah. No, I mean,
and
we
with
know
me, they did everything.
A lot. Yes.
You know what I mean?
No, but
so
it's
it makes me really angry.
Yeah.
Like, and then after that procedure of my husband, okay, now it's like you just started trying. Try for another year. This was 6 years in. Try for
You're already exhausted at this point.
You're mad.
I failed to see the medical rationale behind that. But anyway, no, but nowadays we're very aware it's 30 to 50% of the men. Usually, like the amount of times women come in alone to get their fertility checked. And you're like, okay, what about your
statistic
guy?
is local or not, like the 30 to
No,
50
it's
is
different in certain subpopulations. Like in minority populations, you tend to get more of it. Because it's always the woman's fault in general. And it's always the woman that needs to get checked. And it's never the guy. The guy has had a child 10 years ago from someone else, so he's fine. It's not a problem. That's
and even
time
society
affect.
sees it that way.
Yes.
Because the amount of comments I've got about my training and all of this, no one ever told Patrick anything. Or not to do this.
Yeah.
Or to watch what he's eating, or But
It's always,
with me, they
always
felt like they had the right to tell me what not to
essentially
do.
in society we are the carriers, so we have to be all okay, and then the men are just there as a byproduct of that equation, as in.
But it's just like a source of the anger, and that comes up through the process.
But it's the wrong way of looking at it because you should look at, I always tell guys the same thing, like we need your sperm. Like you can't create a baby without your sperm.
Yeah.
So if you're drinking and, doing
Living an
drugs
unhealthy
and
life,
you're
yeah.
unhealthy and you've got, all the negative things that can impact your whatever DNA oxidation levels in your sperm, I need the sperm. Like, the shittier the sperm, the worse the outcome. There's no question about it. There's a very clear link between it.
I wanted to ask you about how it impacted your relationship.
I don't know. It was different. We had different factors that were either pulling or pushing us towards making a decision. There is a 11-year age gap between me and my wife, and that's where the year cutoff point came, because she's like, I don't want to be in my 50s or in my 60s and have a young child, and I empathize with it, but I can't fully understand it because obviously I bring to the table then the younger mix, and it was something that we had said. It's like, together we are a team, like what I was saying for Angele and Patrick. Mm-hmm. You are a team. You're coming to this together. You cannot carry only one or factor in one variable. Everything needs to be brought to the table. And in our case, at the very beginning, we were both on the same page of not wanting to have kids, which was great for the first 4 years of our relationship. And then, when we started fostering, and ironically, I went from not wanting to be a mom to thinking that, oh my God, I love being a mom. It nearly broke us. And she was like, I just don't want to have kids, go have kids with someone else. And I was like, doesn't work that way. I was like, I built a relationship with you. I love you. I want to be with you, with or without the kids. I would just like us to be parents together. But I wouldn't have bumped into you and felt comfortable with you to have kids because I was in long-term relationships and I was like, oh my God, I do not want children. It was my body telling me that we're not a good mix to have kids. But with Lil, I felt that, and I know now in my heart, I mean, we are good moms. I love her. And I support that decision. It was not something that would be taken away from us. But I did want to have children. And we weren't sure if we wanted to have biological children or go through the heartache of fostering, because essentially fostering is not guaranteed. We fostered 3 children and only 1 remained. So then there's that heartache, similar to loss, of having to say goodbye to someone that you've actually met and loved. It's not a pregnancy test that came out negative and you're like, maybe I could have been. It was an actual, 10-month, 5-month relationship where we loved and cared for and incorporated into our family unit and gave our all to, because we are both the same character in that we don't do any half measures. If we're going to do something, we're just going to go in lock, stock and barrel. Let's take it, and it was difficult. And then when we went abroad for the IUI, I was cocky, I was like, yeah, we're going to get pregnant. We're lucky. Our life is good. We got this. We're paying good money. This is good sperm. My heart was broken 2 years later when she looked at it and was like, this is terrible sperm. And I was like, you're lying. like no way, and that was later when, again, I thought we tried in July and then we tried again in August and both were failed. And the thing is that everyone knows we went up not on holiday and everyone knows that we have to wait 2 weeks. So sure enough, on the fated 14th day, everyone was like, you managed? Are you pregnant? You endured for 7 years. Oh my God, hats off to you. Kudos, you need a hug.
I didn't do IVF, but for 7 years. But
still,
yes,
you
and there was
a probably silent expectation. They've been married for however many years.
Yes,
When is their
probably
pregnancy?
yes.
Her friends are all getting pregnant. When is Angele's pregnancy announcement happening?
But that's probably why many people don't talk about it. It's because you don't want to go through that.
But even with people who don't know anything about you, there is still that
Expectation.
assumption and expectation. So, for example, we were somewhere and this lady asks us if we have children. And we said, no, we don't. So you got married recently? No, we've been married for 8 years. So even when people know nothing about you, there is still
the assumption of
Yes.
Did you find any stigma pushback when people knew you were on an IVF journey?
No.
Did you find
not
the
at
support?
all, actually. Yes.
Could there be more around emotional support? Like if you were advising a friend going through IVF?
I've been through it, so I can maybe help more than someone who hasn't. But I think there maybe could be a bit more education on what people go through on this journey so that the people around them can support them better. I used to find Instagram posts very helpful. In a world where I thought I was going absolutely crazy and I couldn't even figure out my own thoughts because it was so confusing.
You created an echo chamber that spoke
on
your language,
Instagram,
right?
I used to find a post that would literally, I used to feel like this person went into
Speaking
my
to
brain and took the thoughts and wrote them down. So that really helped me. And I used to also come across pages where they offer advice to people supporting what not to say, what to say, how to be there. And I used to sometimes save them and I could send, to someone. As in,
Please say this next time.
it helps, because
Yes.
people don't really know how to navigate it because it's so tricky.
And over here, I think we're also in the process of developing that because, again, in the UK, we had group sessions. We had support sessions. We had people that were starting IVF at the same time that would agree to meet together. And same thing. It's basically a support system that was created at the time. In Malta, maybe because of society, maybe because of the way people think, there isn't that want, or I would say not want, maybe there is that want, but there isn't that comfort in, we still have people coming into the clinic with glasses and a hat on. Not everyone.
Really?
Yes, not everyone, but we have people like that.
There's a bit of shame, so
Yes.
there.
So we're working on that separately, but it's because we know that, most of the time support systems can work and do work, or at least, if you're in it together, it's not like I'm in this and you can't understand me. If you're all in it together,
I think the
it
stigma is
helps.
around mostly them possibly thinking that they failed.
Exactly, like there's something
So-
wrong with you.
And women feel that, Chris. Like typically, if something happens, typically it's my fault. It's I'm the failure here.
Yes, and again, for us, it's like when they look at me and Lil, and they look at Lula and Noah, and they'll be like, either they're both fostered, or one is adopted and the other one is adopted, or one is yours. And there's a myriad of situations. Like where we live, it's great. I just let them be. It's amazing. The gossip between the old ladies, like it's lovely. It's lovely. They sit on the bench and they just look at us like we're in a zoo. They'll be like, you know, like then they start saying, itne Numa fostered. And we just be like, bonjour, and we just let it go. But when it comes to us and I say he is biologically ours, then it's IVF for sure, or IUI, but there had to have been some sort of scientific intervention.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors.
Are you still running your business using spreadsheets, multiple tools, and your memory? There's a better way, and that's Guru Edge. Automate the boring shit. The follow-up emails, invoices, debt collection, the admin that eats up your day, and let's face it, nobody actually enjoys doing it. Track your leads, pipelines, and team performance in one central place, while your automations are already following up, chasing payments, and keeping things moving without you. More clarity, more control, that's Guru Edge.
Something about the way you bounce makes me want to keep you around my mind. My mind. Something about the way you sound shakes me up and makes me get down on my.
That's obvious to a certain
If it's not
extent for
that,
you.
I had a one-night stand and cheated on my wife. So it's like,
so
let's
is it
go
a bit
for...
easier for you? Because obviously
Yes,
people
but then they'll
don't
be
ask
like,
the question.
And you'll be like, but what did you expect? Like, I'm not the Holy Mary. We've established that. I'm not going to cheat on my wife and still be with her as such, because she has an element of pride that I admire. And then that only leaves one. But when it comes to heterosexual couples, I see it a lot in my circle of friends and my circle of friends' friends' friends, where they will just not speak about it. And it becomes the elephant in the room, because you're like, this is okay. This is fine. It's how we get to the bottom line is irrelevant. Whether we foster or adopt, or we have IVF or IUI, or it's, I don't know.
Or we go on holiday and stop trying.
And so nowadays, I think we're so lucky that we have IVF as an option.
Check.
Yes.
The journey isn't important. It's the destination. It's the end game. It's the result. You want to have children, so how you have children is irrelevant. But there is still that stigma around. And that's why earlier I said it's a bit easier for homosexual couples. Like, I walked into Hope. It's Pride. The first thing I asked was, when is the Christmas party? And she's like, we would like to do it, but no one will come. I'm like, I'll come. I would totally come and be like, this is what Hope helped me achieve. A beautiful, healthy boy, which I could not have managed on my own.
But there is a difference,
So-
because you couldn't have managed it on your own because of the relationship you are in. It is not biologically possible.
But also
And so-
Angele couldn't manage.
Apparently, even ours.
Yeah.
No,
wasn't
but
in some
so,
way.
So would you?
Uh-huh.
Sometimes that is probably why Angele would have felt different, because she's like, but it's meant to work in my situation. Why isn't it working?
Then you think there's
kind of-
something wrong with you, eh?
Whereas you
Yes.
couldn't ever, unless you had a one-night stand, test out that logic.
But I had 2 clinical one-night stands and they still didn't work. So, the sex and the IUI we've established is more or less the same. If could have been a hypothetical situation,
Yes.
or I would have still needed IVF.
Yeah.
But also, how many hypothetical, if Angele wasn't the first person you reach out to, where there are the heterosexual couples that turned it down, because this is a hot topic.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just like, no, babe, I don't want you to tell Malta that my child is an IVF child, because it implies that I have an issue or my husband has an issue, and one of our egos doesn't want it known.
Wow.
So it's like,
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, it could be, I guess.
But do we not see an increase in IVF?
when you think about how many people
We
go
do.
through it, it's crazy,
I mean,
actually. 'cause-
And at the end of the day, I would say in general, once people start talking to it and you're in a room of people, inevitably someone will be like, yes, I had IVF too. So if the topic comes up, it will be. But you still have people nowadays that won't receive appointments at home in their post because of their parents open the post. God forbid there's a logo of an IVF clinic in it. So
that makes me sad.
It is.
yes, but Yes and no, because you have a lot of different family structures, some of which are more conservative than others. And the society, although we live in it, is different. There are certain aspects of our society that are more liberal than others. And to a certain extent, I would say in the more conservative societies, it is the expectation that you have children. So I would say the failure, the biological failure and the biological shame is something that part of the community will take much more seriously maybe than other parts of a community.
It's not only that as well, it's the question that follows. How many embryos do you have left?
Sure.
And are you going to use those embryos? That's tricky.
That was one of the things that held me back from doing IVF, I admit.
But again,
the
explain it.
ethical, what do you do with embryos that you don't use?
But you can control that, and that's what people don't understand. You had IVF in the UK, from what I understand. So over there's no restriction or limit how many embryos you create, purely because they can be discarded. And people don't have a problem with that. Some people do, some people don't. Knowing that we can't discard embryos here, at the end of the day, up to the point of collecting eggs is the same.
Yes.
Whether you collect 1 egg or 2 eggs or 50 eggs, up till that point, it's exactly the same.
Agreed.
Now, apart from cost analysis, how many eggs you decide to fertilize is a choice.
Was it?
Yes, because...
We had to as in...
No, you had to fertilize up to a number,
Yeah.
depending on your age. But up to does not mean you have... So we have people that will collect 40 eggs, but want to fertilize 1 by 1
But
or 2 by 2.
Isn't there risk that when you unfreeze an egg, you will lose some of the quality of
Not
that
in
egg?
good hands and not... Okay,
Because I never had a lot. I had like 8 eggs or
So-
10 eggs. So for me,
In-
I wanted to obviously like have the best chance possible and not
in good
freeze my
hands,
eggs.
So in good hands, with a normal good quality egg, nowadays the success rate of an egg too is around 99% survival. So that's step 1. In women with low egg reserves, what we do is we do multiple collections. And here in particular, and I say in Malta, because we know we cannot discard embryos, we analyze genetically the eggs before we fertilize them. So it's not blind, because remember, your eggs were blindly fertilized to a certain extent, because in the UK they don't have the technology because they don't need it. Because if they don't like the embryos, they can discard them. We don't have the option here.
Okay.
So what we do here is in
pre-test.
advance, yes, exactly. So in advance we pre-test those eggs, and we can tell you, listen, we've collected 10 eggs, but out of those 10 eggs, 6 are normal.
But
Now-
isn't even the testing, couldn't even the testing affect the eggs?
No, because this is by polarized light. So what you
Alright,
do is
okay,
the
okay.
way the
Not-
eggs are
not
tested.
like when you test an embryo.
No, the way the eggs
Okay.
are tested is literally just they shine a particular type of microscope on them.
Okay.
And the way the location of the genetics is, the way the light shines. Anyway, there's a lot of different characteristics. But you classify an egg as to good, medium, or poor. The poor eggs get discarded. So automatically the
don't
chance
use
of
them.
miscarriage because of a poor quality egg, because of a poor quality embryo, to a certain extent is eliminated. Now, it's not a 100% thing, but from the statistics we have, it works. And there's very good associations between a good quality egg more likely to give you a good quality embryo. So statistically, when people come in and they tell me, listen, we don't want to have embryos left behind, it's simple. What I always ask is, how many children are you ready to have? Because if they tell me we want 1, I can fertilize 1 by 1. It's like a lottery, and I always say this, the less tickets you fertilize, there is less chance of winning.
yes.
But actually, if your end point is I don't want embryos left over, fine. Fertilize what you think you'll use. Not all embryos give you a baby, and that is where it comes to it. So if you're happy to have 2 or 3 kids, then fertilize 5. Because frankly, out of 5 eggs, most of the times, you get 1, 2, or 3 chances of having a child. But if you have specific couples that come and they say, listen, our biggest issue is ethical. We don't want them embryos left behind. Fine, fertilize what you want. It's more costly
Yes,
because you're fertilizing bit by
course.
bit, but actually, ethically, you've surpassed that part of saying, listen.
I think for me, by the time I actually like got to doing IVF, like the desperation took over.
But that's different because then when
so I didn't even think about the
but
ethical
when it becomes
anymore.
more complex, your worry shifts from how many embryos am I going to have left to do I have embryos left?
I
And that's a
wanted
difficult-
embryos, especially after the first one, we got none.
And
So for
knowing
me, it was
that-
like...
How many did you get when you did it the second time?
So the second time, we got 1 embryo, which we transferred straight away. That didn't implant. And then we did it the third time, and we got 5 embryos. And we transferred 1 straight away, a fresh transfer, which didn't work. And then we transferred 1 frozen 6 months later, which is my daughter.
Okay.
And then we had another 3. We transferred 2 frozen last year. Again, like you said, I went in thinking, oh, the first frozen transfer works, so this one's going to work. they both didn't work. And we had our last one, which is this one. So there are none left.
Okay, so that's
There are none
good.
left. So
Yeah.
let's obviously hope that everything goes
It
well.
all depends
and,
on the case. Because obviously, if we have a case where you fertilize 2 eggs and then there's no embryos, we would be the first people to say, listen, hang on, you need to fertilize more, because the chances are, from what we're seeing, is that your problem is not going to be how many embryos you have. It's whether you have embryos or whether they're going to give you a baby.
Yeah.
And that is it. It's a fundamental question. Even a genetically normal embryo still has a 50% chance of working. So there's so many factors in biology, apart from the genetics, which define whether an embryo gives you a baby.
Yeah.
It's not just the genetics of that embryo.
And it's all stuff as well, like that you learn as you go along. Like when I started the journey, I knew much less than when I was on my 3rd egg collection. You know,
how much you start
it's,
picking things up.
Exactly. So,
In your experience, to get to motherhood, what is the biggest gap between expectation and reality? Where does that lie?
in the journey to become,
Yes, if you had to look back on your journey.
Depends what lens you're using. The gap's huge. As in,
I
it
never
depends
imagined
how.
it would take me. I never imagined it would take me so long to get pregnant, if that's what you mean.
Yes.
Like my expectation was that, it would happen straight away.
I think everyone's expectation coming from again, I'm 45 now, so 45 years ago, we were in a nun school. We were always told that, men were bad. The moment they touch you, you can get pregnant. So at the end of the day, it was a society we grew up in, that at the end of the day, the conservative mentality is always, it is easy to get pregnant. And to a certain extent, it's also protective of the young girls, because obviously they don't want them to basically, experiment early when they're maybe not ready to be parents and get pregnant, because obviously young girls can get pregnant. So I think the expectation is always, yes, we'll try a few times, it will happen. But the reality is, if it does not, it's not the end of the world, but do something about it.
Sooner rather than later.
Yes. Putting my medical hat on, so many people could have had much more chances of achieving parenthood had they actually,
Looked
into it or had the gut feeling that something was wrong and things weren't being
Investigated
passed.
it
Exactly.
earlier.
And, I've had people, as I said, that you see 3 years ago and you're like, okay, I think this is what you should do. And then they come back 3 years down the line and say, okay, now I want to follow the advice. And you're like, yes, but it's 3 years down the line. Things have changed now. I cannot offer you what I did 3 years ago. And it is denial. It is maybe, rejection of the mistrust in the profession, which I completely get, because obviously, unfortunately, IVF is a profession where people really want something desperately, and so many people sell products that are just add-ons that have absolutely no scientific proof. And then, they come to us like, but I've gone to this clinic and they've done this test and it. I'm like, read about it. This test has no increased take-home baby rate. You've spent thousands of pounds doing these sort of tests that are completely not proven to help you take home a baby. And this is what you want. You want to take home a baby. Yeah. So irrespective of what these tests claim to do, if they don't give you the final product, which is the baby you want, you've wasted years and money following dreams or expectations purely for financial gains.
There were some tests that I did and I was like, what am I doing?
But because you get
but
so
I was
desperate.
so desperate
And they
at
know
that
it.
point.
And they know it. They know people are desperate at the point.
Actually, one thing I really want to touch upon, because I want to add the positive. Can you talk me through when you saw your positive pregnancy test? Because I feel like after everything, this is your end goal, right?
Yeah.
And we're speaking about fertility, and ultimately that's the destination.
No, but we got reminded at least I got reminded so many times that
Because you are
nothing
not
as
like,
such,
so
as
if you've done an IVF
miscarry
transfer,
at any point. It's not.
when do you have to take? You do
IVF.
the same, like 2 weeks after.
12 days after.
12, 13
12
days
days
after.
So
after implantation,
those 12 days.
I ignored them because I had IVF as well as a patient, not only as
Okay.
a doctor. So
Okay.
I was very clinical about it. And with me, it was more like work every day.
Blood test
normal
after 5
blood,
days.
Exactly. It's just like, it's just
You
like,
had the in.
I had my colleagues come, let me do a scan. Let's check the follicles growing. Let's see, what would you do? I think I'm going to do this. So it was very much the whole unit where I worked knew I was having IVF.
So did you resist the temptation to check before day 12?
Of course. I mean, yes, of course. There's no way I would have managed to wait till day 12. But the point
So
is...
she did not resist.
No, I did not resist.
It was caving it to medical, apply editing at
No,
your
it was pregnancy
disposal.
tests, which I know were not meant to be done from day 5 onwards. But the point is, when you're I can't really comment about the journey because it was very different for me. I was a doctor in IVF, working in an IVF unit, having IVF, which sounds crazy, but it was like work as normal. I'm just going to do my scan list, going to see 25 infertile patients. What was worse for me in my pregnancies was working in the IVF unit, seeing IVF patients when I was pregnant. That was the worst. And in fact, my colleagues still laugh about it, but I used to go and wear the biggest XXL surgical scrubs I could find to hide my bump.
I can see that though, because that's being
like rubbing
sensitive
salt
to a
in a
very,
wound.
to a very
It's
uncomfortable...
ridiculous because to a certain extent, I was pregnant naturally, but I was also an IVF patient. And
You could have been like, I'm the success story, guys.
Exactly. and in
People don't
fact,
know that.
And in fact, other colleagues did it differently. They were like, look, you see, it works. Look at me. I'm living proof of it. When with me, it was more like, it worked, and I'm lucky it worked, and it couldn't have worked because mine wasn't an easy case either. But the point was, I felt still bad for the people knowing that they were going through it, and some of them weren't succeeding. And it's awful to have an IVF doctor telling you about how terrible your embryos are and how unlikely they are to succeed. She's pregnant and she's got like this huge bump in front of you, and it's just, it's unfair and it's no one's fault. But as a doctor in IVF, you feel guilty.
And it depends also on the couple. Is it their primary infertility? Is it secondary
yes,
infertility?
but to a certain extent, you're guilty of being pregnant, which is weird sounds really weird, but you're guilty of being the pregnant person in the room when you're seeing and advising patients who can't get pregnant. So there is that psychology for everyone. It's not only just, you find that from all aspects of it. I mean, imagine how terrible having a fully pregnant woman in front of you.
Yes, it would have been very hard for me. Yes.
My first 2 pregnancies resulted in a miscarriage, but having to go get checked out after the miscarriage while you're sitting in a waiting room with pregnant women is
terrible.
It's just terrible.
In fact, even me, like I specialize in pre and postnatal fitness and recovery. So there was
all the specialities,
there was a point at which I had to stop doing that and offering those fitness classes.
Of course.
Because I couldn't handle it anymore. When we had gone to London for the first IVF treatment, the amount of messages and calls I got from pregnant people, it was like, I don't know, it's like even more somehow because I was there for that.
Yes.
The thing is that your psyche ended up heightening any
It could be, yes. But I couldn't believe it. As soon as I landed in London, phone call. I get to the hotel, message, hi, I'm pregnant. Hi, I'm pregnant. I was just like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore.
No.
I can't.
You have to protect your own peace.
So going back to what you said, like, what did I do? This was one of the things. I had to like put that part of my business on hold. I couldn't take it anymore. So
But take me to that first, to the positive pregnancy test.
How funny. I wasn't even sure. I don't know, when I saw it, I couldn't even like believe it. I sent it to a friend. It's like, is this it? And she's like, oh my God, yes.
This is what it looks like.
I couldn't. But I wasn't initially happy. I was in such a bad place in those 12 days of the waiting. It was such a hard period that you can't just like pull yourself out of those trenches in a second.
It becomes surreal. I had left the pregnancy test on my bedside table for a full week. It's really surreal.
Must have smelled amazing.
I still have it.
There you go. We had come back from a wedding and it was, we're such nerds. We came back on midnight of our 14th day and I'm like, babe, it counts. Like it's the 14th day and we were totally spent. And I'm like, just get the pregnancy test. Let's do it. I need to pee anyway. I had been standing up waiting at the wedding. And it was positive. And I'm like, let's sleep on it. And then we'll do another test in the morning because things change in 4 hours. You never know. And then we shared it with anyone who knew that we had done the cycle because obviously treat your treat. They were going to ask on the 14th day, like, have you been successful? Is it okay? So we sent them and we had a wee celebration on the Sunday. But then in our case, we had implanted 2 of the most prominent embryos that we had. They were the best grading and other than being an excellent gynae, she's a very good salesperson, and was like 70% chance of success for 1 with implantation of 2. My wife nearly died. We implanted 2. And then the bleeding started straight away. So it was traumatic from week 2. And then week 5, we thought we miscarried. And then I had bed rest, but I don't do bed rest. So I didn't rest. Ended up in visiting hospital steadily every month because our gynae doctor, Nikki, was like, if you feel more than a pad, go to the emergency. And I was like, this is really ambiguous. Like a big stain, a small stain, a micro stain, many pads, 1 pad in an hour, in like 2 hours. Do I feel it in a day? This is where
You overthink.
the overthinking takes over.
Yes.
And then you'll be like, I just need to go and get like medical advice. And they were like, let on, they ħafna them. And I was like, oh my God, I should have come earlier. So then it's like, and the thing is also what I felt as well, and I can say this because you're here, I wanted to continue with hope. We had built a relationship over, legs open, vag and face sort of thing. We had built a relationship. I wanted it to continue. And then I had to go see another gynae, go see another doctor. So there was that introduction of what we've been through. Like, listen, we tried, we went to hope. This is the study. These are my blood tests. This is everything. Let's start all over again. It was a lot. It's not like I don't know, for me, I have never experienced another pregnancy. So people are going to be like, brava, titkellem l-arfa. It wasn't a pregnancy that I could enjoy.
Yes.
And it wasn't one that was easy. It wasn't one that was fun.
I don't think.
But most pregnancies are like that after IVF. Most pregnancies come with denial. And the denial of like, it couldn't have worked. Or if it worked, it's going to stop.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
And you're going to get miscarriage.
When
So
did it
I'm not
sink
going to
in?
be happy.
And
Until
also the fact that we had a threatened miscarriage showed us that it was really close. It was there.
Very
Yes.
delicate.
Like the amount of blood, excuse the TMI, was a lot. Like it looked like I had murdered someone in the bathroom. And I mean, it was a lot. And then when we went to the emergency and we were told that there was no gestational sac, it's fine, it's done, it's full stop. And then we told the team and they're like, we have to wait another 2 months. And I was like, another 2 months? I was like, that's it. And then I went back to our conversation in February, the year is up, we're not going to manage this year. So then there was that sort of ruckus. It was a lot. And then the next morning, everything changed. So it was like, oh my God, we're pregnant again. There was actually a gestational sac that he couldn't see. So it was a lot. And you experienced that a lot. So it's like,
I never experienced a miscarriage myself, so I can imagine how hard, and even just seeing all the blood and but for me it's more I didn't believe that it would after you
to be
transfer
successful.
2, and they don't work, like the thought of the third one working, it seems really far-fetched. So in fact, going back to the pregnancy test day, I had already, because I didn't run for the full 12 days after the embryo transfer, which for me is very difficult to not run for so long. So I had said, like, if I get a positive pregnancy test, I'm going to go for a run. And if it's a negative pregnancy, again, the first thing I'm going to do is go for a run. So either way, that
You were gonna
was
resume
my,
your life.
like, I was just dying to go for my run. So then after we got the test, I made plans with my mother and my sister, because obviously they were extremely happy.
Yes.
And we went somewhere. So I went for my run and they walked, and then we went for a coffee. And I still remember my mother telling me, like, are you okay? Because like I said before, I was in such a bad place before that obviously I couldn't just snap out
just
of it.
switch
No.
off.
and you didn't take
And
the
I
win for a
said-
win. You just took it.
No, as in, I didn't think that anything was going to happen either, but it was just a bit of a process of processing, like,
Yes.
okay, so this worked, and maybe I don't need to be so depressed anymore. Like, as in,
Yes.
it takes time.
Yes, because you had
So
that mindset
I
of
was-
for 9 years.
Yes, and I was in with the last, with my daughter's embryo transfer. I think I was at my lowest low in the weight, because it's another time of putting your life on hold, stopping doing all the things I
Also,
love
the
to
medication
do.
doesn't help either in
And
terms of hormone imbalances.
Probably,
and
probably not as well. So, and in fact, I had told my husband, like, if this one doesn't work, even though we have another 3 embryos frozen, like, I will not do another one, because I was at that point a little bit worried about my own safety. Let's
Okay.
put it that way. So, it was a process, but at no point then in the pregnancy, it just took me long to prepare. Like, it took me long to buy things. I bought nothing. But at no point did I feel like I'm going to lose this baby any second. I continued with my runs and my training like normal all the way, first trimester.
Yeah.
So I was very like relaxed in it, but at the same time,
Cautiously optimistic.
like I felt weird.
nice-
You know what? It feels really strange going from, will I ever be a mom, to suddenly going to a shop to buy baby clothes. Like,
yes.
it's just like,
Because it's almost like you block
it.
yes, I
You
like,
block
so
that feeling.
even just, even, well, what's the word?
It's like a protective mechanism.
No, and even just to identify as a mother.
Yes.
I found it very, very strange. Like someone telling me, hi, mommy. What? Me?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, it took me a while to
I can imagine.
to be able to do all of these things and feel like a mom.
Or a mom as well.
Like it's
Looking back on your journey and you as a doctor and as an IVF mom, what is the one thing you wish people would understand more or talk about more when it comes to the whole topic of fertility and infertility? If there's one thing you wish people knew more about.
I think for me, from my experience, just like having that education from when you're younger. Like, again, like I felt completely cheated by what I was taught growing up. Like, if in school they actually mention that there is a chance that, you cannot,
not have
you may
children.
not, and there are these, just a bit more like awareness about it. Not you arrive in your 20s, 30s, and suddenly you're like, oh my God, what's this?
Yeah.
Even just something simple of maybe freezing your eggs when you're a bit younger.
Yes.
I didn't have that issue in the sense like everything, but there are some people
Yes.
who, so just a little bit more, I think, education growing up for society as a whole. Like I said, even just about supporting people going through it.
Yeah.
Not just like, okay, this is sex, this is how it happens, this makes a baby, don't do it. If you have a baby, your life is going to end. Because there is also that, the society scares you as well.
The fear.
Exactly. I was even afraid of having a baby as a married woman because
Yes.
I thought my life was going to end.
Yes.
I mean, my daughter's the best thing that happened to me, because that was another thing that, like, people don't say enough how amazing motherhood is.
Okay.
They scare you. Like, that's the feeling I got.
Not everyone is on the same page.
Yeah.
No,
About how
but I don't know, for me, having my daughter just like completely changed my life for the better. There is not one thing about my life now that I would say is worse than it was before. Nothing.
how sweet.
How
No, it's in
sweet.
like, but there's so much like when you hear like, so much
yes.
negative as well.
Yes.
I don't know. So from those two aspects, the education, learning about this can happen. How can we support people when this happens? And then, yes, there is also this aspect of it as well. Like, motherhood can be, I understand it's not the same for
Also, you
everyone.
will never take it for granted.
I think
the difference.
being what I've been through, no. Maybe I would have taken it more for granted had it happened straight away. So obviously for me, having her is just like a complete miracle.
Yeah.
So
I can imagine.
Having both our children is a complete miracle.
What do you wish, Chris, people would know or talk about more when it comes to fertility?
I think more talk about less in terms of just mind your own business and let people be people, raise awareness about the fact that there are stresses in life. If you do wait to have a baby because you want to be successful, first, there are going to be complications. Know about those complications, but also mind your own business. Don't look at a child and assume that it was easy. Don't look at a child and assume that it's theirs. And don't look at a child and assume that you understand everything. Just look at a family unit, measure that they're happy
And loved?
and that they're safe and that they're different. And we get that a lot, obviously, when they look at our kids. And it bothers me. The assumptions that they make bother me. But also, I allow it to happen because everyone is entitled and self-absorbed and has an opinion, including myself. But sometimes we just need to bring to the table a level of understanding where we're going to hold that back and just sit at the table and have a conversation without reaching assumptions or not. So raise awareness, but also mind your own business.
I like that.
I think with me, I always try to push fertility checks as being another check that you should do just as you go and check your blood pressure, your thyroid, like stop this thing of it's bad to talk about sex and eggs and sperm, because it's very actually easy to check your fertility. And I always say that if you're in your 20s, just check. There's no wrong to check. Like if you're a woman and you have a low egg count at 20, it's not going to magically grow back.
Yeah.
You know, like at least do something about it. If you're in a relationship with anyone and you're not sure whether you want to be a mother or whether that person is right for you, you do not wait 7 or 10 years to make that decision. The amount of time I've seen women who have been in 7 or 10 year relationships who come to us in their 40s or late 30s because he never wanted a kid and I knew he really didn't want a kid and I was convinced I didn't want to be a mum, but now I want to be a mum. So give yourself the chance. I mean, it's better, to a certain extent, it's better to give yourself a chance and never need to use it than never give yourself a chance or give yourself a chance when it's too late. So medically, what I can say is never assume everything is fine. Infertility does not come with any symptoms. Never. It can, and it can be misdiagnosed, but it may absolutely not come with any symptoms. And just do yourselves a favor, because there are things that can be done, many things that can be done nowadays, both for women and for men. The problem is people do it too late, or at least they just deny it and deny it and deny it. And then when it happens, sometimes even the best technology can't circumvent sort of some medical issues. But that's what I would say. I would say, please, everyone, you know, your university, you've got your career ahead of you. You don't know what you're doing, or maybe you know what you're doing. You're not planning on having children now. Check yourselves. There's absolutely no loss in checking yourselves.
Yeah.
And then you have the information. And then what you decide to do with that information is your choice. But at least you can't look back on yourself and say, I could have seen this or I could have done something. And I've lost 10 years in doing it.
That's such good advice. Thank you, ladies. Thank you for being with me. I just really hope we've brought hope to couples or women going through it. Yes, pun intended. But also brought highlighted some of the reality of what actually goes on in this whole process. So thank you.